April 22nd, 2025, 9:47 a.m. I'm in my office at Precision Aerospace Components in Grand Rapids, Michigan, reviewing our quarterly aluminum procurement costs. My purchasing manager, Linda Chen, walks in with her laptop. Her face tells me this is bad news. "Marcus, you need to see the new pricing from our Canadian suppliers." She turns the screen toward me. I stare at the numbers. Then I stare again, because they can't possibly be correct. Aluminum billet, 6061T6 grade. Previous contract price, $2,840 per ton. New quote, $4,950 per ton. 74% increase, overnight. "This is a mistake," I say. "Call them." "There's been an error." It's not an error. Trump's 50% tariff on Canadian aluminum went into effect yesterday. This is the new reality. I feel my stomach drop. We use 850 tons of Canadian aluminum annually. At the old price, that was $2.4 million in material costs. At the new price, $4.2 million. An additional $1.8 million expense that I cannot pass on to customers without losing every contract we have. "Get me every alternative supplier quote you can find," I tell Linda. "Domestic, Mexican, European, I don't care. We need options." She nods and leaves. I sit alone in my office, staring at spreadsheets that no longer make mathematical sense. My name is Marcus Whitfield. I'm 48 years old, CEO of Precision Aerospace Components, a mid-sized manufacturer specializing in aircraft structural components. We employ 340 people in Grand Rapids. And this is the story of how Trump's aluminum tariffs didn't protect American manufacturing. They destroyed it, and forced me to make a choice I never imagined: abandon American production for Germany. Let me take you back to March 2025, before Trump's tariff apocalypse. Before everything changed. Precision Aerospace Components, founded by my father in 1988. I took over as CEO in 2009, right after the financial crisis nearly destroyed us. Spent 15 years rebuilding, modernizing, positioning us as a premium supplier to major aerospace firms. Our specialty: precision machined aluminum components for commercial aircraft, fuselage brackets, wing rib assemblies, landing gear housings, parts that require aerospace-grade aluminum and tolerances measured in thousandths of an inch. Our customer list included Boeing, Airbus suppliers, regional aircraft manufacturers. We weren't huge, but we were excellent. Our rejection rate was 0.3%, industry best in class. Our on-time delivery was 99.1%. Our customers trusted us. Financial snapshot. March 2025. Annual revenue, $42 million. Employees, 340. Skilled machinists, engineers, quality specialists. Aluminum consumption, 850 tons annually. Material costs, $2.4 million, aluminum. $3.2 million, other materials. Labor costs, $18.6 million. Operating expenses, $8.4 million. Net profit margin, 7.8%, $3.27 million. We weren't getting rich, but aerospace manufacturing never has massive margins. Our profitability came from efficiency, quality, and reliable supply chains. 95% of our aluminum came from Quebec smelters, Alcoa and Rio Tinto facilities powered by hydroelectric dams. The cleanest, most sustainable aluminum in the world. Premium quality, reliable delivery, competitive pricing. It was the perfect supply chain. Until Trump decided to blow it up. Trump announced it in a late-night tweet, because of course he did. Huge tariffs on Canadian aluminum. 50% effective immediately. No more ripping off American workers. Canada will pay 50%. Not 10%. Not 25%. 50% overnight tariff on all Canadian aluminum imports. The stated justification was laughable. protecting American aluminum production. Never mind that U.S. domestic aluminum production couldn't supply even 40% of American manufacturing demand. Never mind that Quebec's hydroelectric-powered smelters produce the cleanest aluminum on Earth, while U.S. smelters ran on coal and natural gas. Trump wanted to punish Canada. He wanted to look tough. He wanted a political win. And American manufacturers like me? We were acceptable collateral damage. The morning after the announcement, my phone exploded. Suppliers calling. Customers asking if we could still meet delivery schedules. Competitors scrambling for alternatives. I called our primary aluminum supplier in Quebec, a procurement manager I'd worked with for 12 years. Jean-Claude, what are we looking at? Marcus, I'm sorry. With 50% U.S. tariffs, we cannot maintain competitive pricing for American buyers. Our company is already redirecting shipments to European markets. Europe? The EU has no aluminum tariffs on Canadian imports. We're getting premium prices in Germany, France, Netherlands. Prices that make U.S. sales uneconomical even without tariffs. Add 50% tariffs on top, and American market is impossible. So you're cutting us off? Not cutting off. But we cannot absorb 50% tariff costs. If you want to continue purchases, you pay tariff price. Otherwise... He paused. Marcus, European manufacturers are calling us daily. They're thrilled. Trump just handed them a massive competitive advantage. That's when I understood the full scope of Trump's idiocy. He didn't just make Canadian aluminum more expensive for Americans. He made American manufacturing uncompetitive globally. Back in my office, I ran the numbers. Then I ran them again, hoping I'd made an error. I hadn't. Scenario 1. Pay the tariff. Continue Canadian aluminum. New aluminum cost. $4.2 million. Was $2.4 million. Additional annual expense. $1.8 million. Current profit margin. $3.27 million. New profit margin. $1.47 million, down 55%. Problem. Insufficient capital for equipment maintenance, R&D, or competitiveness. Scenario 2. Switch to U.S. domestic aluminum. U.S. aluminum availability. Limited capacity, mostly committed to long-term contracts. U.S. aluminum premium. Already $600 ton above Canadian before tariffs. Estimated cost, $3.8 million. Additional expense, $1.4 million. Quality concerns. U.S. smelters can't match Canadian hydroelectric production. Purity. Aerospace certifications. Would require requalifying all parts. 6 to 9 months, $400,000 plus cost. Scenario 3. Switch to Chinese aluminum. Chinese aluminum cost. Appears cheaper at $2,200 per ton. Trump tariffs on Chinese aluminum, 25%, and threatened increase. Quality issues. Inconsistent alloy composition. Aerospace certification. Difficult, impossible for Chinese suppliers. Customer rejection. Boeing and Airbus suppliers won't accept Chinese aluminum in critical components. Scenario 4. Pass costs to customers. Price increase needed, approximately 18 to 22% across all products. Customer response. Would immediately shift to European suppliers with Canadian aluminum access. Contract cancellations. Estimated 60 to 75% of business lost within 6 months. Every scenario ended in catastrophic damage to our business. There was no good option. But then Linda came back with something interesting. European pricing. Marcus, I've been talking to contacts in Germany. You need to hear this. She pulled up her research. While Trump's tariffs were destroying American aluminum markets, something remarkable was happening in Europe. European aluminum market, April-June 2025. Canadian aluminum exports to U.S. dropped from 95% to 78% of Quebec production. Canadian aluminum exports to Europe jumped from 0.2% to 18%. European manufacturers' aluminum costs Stable or declining U.S. manufacturers' aluminum costs. Up 82%. Midwest premium surge. Wait, I said. European manufacturers are getting Canadian aluminum at lower prices than before the tariffs? Exactly. Quebec smelters redirected 50,000 plus tons from American buyers to European buyers in just 3 months. European demand absorbed it immediately. They're paying premium prices, but still way below what Americans now pay with tariffs. So, European aerospace manufacturers have a massive cost advantage over you now. Same aluminum quality, lower prices, more reliable supply because they're not subject to Trump's tariff tantrums. The implications hit me like a freight train. Our European competitors, German precision manufacturers, French aerospace suppliers, now had better aluminum access and better prices than American manufacturers. In an industry where 3 to 5% cost advantages determined who won contracts, this was a death sentence. There's more, Linda said. I contacted a manufacturing consultant in Munich. Germany is actively recruiting aerospace manufacturers to relocate. Tax incentives, skilled labor programs, direct access to Canadian aluminum supply chains via European ports. You're suggesting we move our manufacturing to Germany? I'm suggesting that if we stay in Michigan, we're going bankrupt within 2 years. European competitors will underbid us on every contract. We won't be able to compete. That night, I told my wife Sarah everything. We'd lived in Grand Rapids our entire lives. Our kids went to school here. Our friends were here. The company my father built was here. How bad is it? She asked. Trump's tariffs increased our aluminum costs by 74%. We can't absorb that. We can't pass it to customers. And European manufacturers now have cheaper access to the same Canadian aluminum we used to buy. So what are the options? Stay in Michigan and watch the company slowly die, or relocate manufacturing to Germany, where we can access Canadian aluminum without tariffs and compete on equal footing with European aerospace suppliers. Sarah was quiet for a long time. Germany. You're talking about moving to Germany. I'm talking about survival. Trump just made American aerospace manufacturing economically impossible. Either we adapt or we die. What about the 340 people working for us? What about their families? That was the knife in my gut. Some could relocate if they want. Germany has skilled labor shortages. But most won't. Most will lose their jobs. Because Trump decided to play tariff games without understanding how supply chains actually work. I spent the next 3 weeks researching obsessively, and the more I learned, the clearer the picture became, and the angrier I got. What was happening to Canadian aluminum? Before Trump's tariffs, Quebec smelters sent 95% of production to U.S. buyers. High-quality, hydroelectric-powered, clean aluminum for American manufacturing. After Trump's tariffs, Quebec smelters faced a choice. Try to maintain U.S. market share at economically impossible prices, or redirect to eager European buyers who weren't sabotaging their own industries. They chose Europe, obviously, because they're businesses, not charities. In just 3 months, April to June 2025, 50,000 plus tons redirected from U.S. to European markets. European aluminum premiums dropped 8% due to increased supply. U.S. Midwest aluminum premium surged 82% due to supply shortage. Quebec smelters' European customer base expanded from nearly 0 to 18% of production. What was happening to American manufacturers? We weren't the only ones facing catastrophe. Across the automotive, aerospace, and construction sectors, manufacturers using aluminum were getting destroyed. Michigan automotive suppliers, facing 65 to 80% cost increases on aluminum body panels. Wisconsin boat manufacturers, seeing European competitors undercut them by 30% on aluminum hulls. Pennsylvania construction suppliers, losing contracts to Canadian firms who could use domestic aluminum without tariffs. The American Aluminum Association estimated 40,000 manufacturing jobs would be lost by end of 2025. Not because of competition or efficiency problems, but purely because Trump's tariffs made American production uncompetitive. What was happening in Germany? Germany was having a manufacturing renaissance. Their aerospace sector was booming. Why? Because while Trump was destroying American supply chains, Germany was capitalizing. German aerospace manufacturers had tariff-free access to Canadian aluminum, stable, predictable trade policy, EU agreements don't change via tweet, skilled labor programs attracting displaced American workers, government incentives for precision manufacturing expansion. A German industry analyst I spoke with was brutally honest. Trump gave us the gift of a lifetime. American aerospace manufacturers are crippled by aluminum costs, while we have better access than ever. We're winning contracts we couldn't have touched 2 months ago, and American companies are now asking about relocating to Germany. It's remarkable. June 15, 2025. I called a meeting with our executive team and board members. I've reviewed every option, I began. Every scenario where we stay in Michigan ends in bankruptcy within 18 to 24 months. We cannot compete with European manufacturers who have Canadian aluminum access while we pay 82% premiums. So what's the alternative? Our CFO asked. We relocate primary manufacturing to Germany, specifically Munich region. I've identified a 75,000 square foot facility available for lease. German federal and Bavarian state governments are offering tax incentives and workforce development support. Silence around the table. We'd maintain a small U.S. presence for final assembly and customer service, but primary machining, the bulk of value-add work, that moves to Germany. How many jobs transfer? Someone asked. Maybe 40 to 50 people if they're willing to relocate. The rest. I paused. The rest we'd have to let go over a 6 to 8 month transition period. You're talking about laying off 290 people in Grand Rapids, your father's hometown. I'm talking about not laying off all 340 people when we go bankrupt because Trump made American manufacturing impossible. This isn't a choice between good and bad options. It's a choice between terrible and catastrophic. Our lead engineer, Tom Morrison, worked with us for 22 years, spoke up. You're saying Trump's tariffs are forcing us to leave America? Trump's tariffs made Canadian aluminum unaffordable for American manufacturers, while European manufacturers got better access. We either relocate to where supply chains work, or we die here. Those are the only options. The vote was unanimous. We proceeded with German relocation planning. July brought the hard part. Telling employees. I held an all-hands meeting on July 8th. By now you've heard rumors. Let me give you facts. Trump's aluminum tariffs increased our material costs by 74%. We cannot absorb that cost. We cannot pass it to customers without losing all contracts. European competitors now have cheaper Canadian aluminum access than we do. I watched their faces. These were skilled workers, machinists, engineers, quality specialists, people who'd built careers at our company. We're relocating primary manufacturing to Munich, Germany. This will happen in phases over the next 8 months. We'll need approximately 45 people to relocate with us. Everyone else. I had to pause. Everyone else will be laid off as operations transfer. The silence was deafening. Then someone shouted, "So Trump's protecting American jobs by forcing us to move to Germany?" Yes, that's exactly what's happening. And you're just giving up? Just running to Europe? I'm refusing to watch this company die because politicians play games with supply chains they don't understand. Germany has aluminum access, stable trade policy, a government that doesn't sabotage its own manufacturers. If staying in America was viable, I'd do it. It's not. Over the next weeks, 47 employees agreed to relocate to Germany. Skilled machinists, senior engineers, quality leads. People willing to start over in a foreign country because Trump made America economically hostile to manufacturers. The rest, 293 people, would be laid off in phases. Some were angry, some understood. All were victims of a president who thought tariffs were a negotiating tool rather than a supply chain weapon. September 12, 2025. I'm standing in our new Munich facility, 75,000 square feet in the Freimann Industrial District. Clean, modern, empty, but not for long. Equipment was being shipped from Michigan. German machinists were being hired. Our relocated American team was settling into apartments around Munich. And the aluminum? Flowing directly from Quebec smelters to Rotterdam ports to our Munich facility. No tariffs, no games, just business. Our first major order came from an Airbus Tier 2 supplier. Parts we used to make in Michigan, except now our costs were 28% lower because we weren't paying Trump's aluminum tariff premium. "How does it feel?" asked our operations manager, David Chen, who'd relocated with his family from Grand Rapids. "Like we survived by abandoning home," I said honestly. "Better than dying in it." He was right, but that didn't make it feel good. It's October now. Our Munich operation is at 40% capacity, ramping toward full production by January 2026. Here's what I've learned. The good. Aluminum costs 32% lower than U.S. prices with tariffs. Supply reliability. Excellent. Canadian suppliers prioritize European buyers now. Skilled labor. Germany has vocational training programs that produce excellent machinists. Trade policy. Stable, predictable, not subject to presidential tweets. Business environment. Government actually supports manufacturing instead of sabotaging it. The bad. We're no longer an American company in any meaningful sense. Our incorporation, yes. Our production, number. 293 Michigan workers lost jobs. Good people, skilled workers, victims of policy incompetence. Grand Rapids facility now operates at minimum capacity, just final assembly and admin. My father's legacy company is now primarily German. The infuriating. Trump still claims his tariffs are protecting American jobs. U.S. manufacturers continue bleeding employment. European aerospace sector is booming, thanks to American policy failure. Quebec aluminum smelters found new markets and aren't coming back. The numbers from American manufacturing are catastrophic. By September 2025, U.S. aluminum-consuming manufacturers lost 43,000 jobs due to tariff-related cost increases. Automotive suppliers, 12,000 jobs lost. Aerospace, 8,400 jobs lost, including 290 from my company. Construction materials, 14,200 jobs lost. U.S. manufacturing relocations to Europe. 87 companies announced or completed moves. Meanwhile, Canadian aluminum sector. Quebec smelters. European exports. Stabilized at 18% of production. New long-term contracts with European buyers. 23 major agreements. U.S. market share. Permanently reduced from 95% to 75% and falling. Profitability. Increased due to European premium pricing. And European manufacturing. Germany aerospace sector. Added 6,700 jobs from American relocations. Netherlands. Precision manufacturing. Added 3,200 jobs. France automotive suppliers. Added 2,800 jobs. Trump's tariffs didn't protect American jobs. They exported them to Europe. People ask, do you regret leaving America? Wrong question. Right question. Why did Trump's aluminum tariffs make it impossible to manufacture competitively in America? I didn't want to move to Germany. I wanted to build aerospace components in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where my father founded this company in 1988. I wanted to employ Americans in good manufacturing jobs. I wanted to contribute to American aerospace leadership. But Trump decided that looking tough on trade was more important than understanding supply chains. He thought 50% tariffs on Canadian aluminum would force Canada to surrender. Instead, Canada just sold to Europe. And American manufacturers like me? We became collateral damage in a trade war that benefited European competitors. Got an email yesterday from Tom Morrison, the engineer who asked if Trump's tariffs were forcing us to leave America. He stayed in Michigan, took a severance package, tried finding work at other aerospace suppliers. Marcus, there's nothing here. Every aluminum-consuming manufacturer is cutting staff or relocating. I'm 54 years old. I've got maybe one job left in me. Can you use an experienced aerospace engineer in Munich? I hired him. Starting January 2026. He'll join 11 other former Michigan employees who've asked to relocate in the last month. We're not refugees. We're economic migrants. Fleeing our own country not because of war, but because Trump's tariff policy made American manufacturing economically impossible. And we're not coming back. Not while aluminum costs 82% more in America than Europe. Not while Canadian suppliers prioritize European markets. Not while U.S. trade policy is determined by presidential impulse rather than supply chain reality. This is my life now. American CEO of a German aerospace manufacturer. Building components with Canadian aluminum that used to come to Michigan but now goes to Munich. And somewhere in Quebec, aluminum smelters are shipping 50,000 tons to European ports instead of American factories, because Trump thought tariffs were weapons instead of supply chain suicide. If that doesn't tell you everything about Trump's trade policy failure, nothing will.